Ryan came back home after meeting her friends. She didn't want to be late and failed to receive her husband after he comes back from work. Her friends just called her a typical wife material for that. She shrugged her shoulders, going to her room. What was so wrong about taking care of your husband? She put all the bags down she just shopped and asked the maid to prepare the dinner. Ryan, he is still scary. She sighed and went to shower up. Ryan and Jungkook got married 3 weeks ago. She just finished her university and got married to him immediately. They had an age gap of 4 years, and Jungkook passed university 7 years ago because he was intelligent enough to skip years being a child. She was always scared of how he was, the way he was. It was hard to explain, and when the door of her room opened up, it was even harder because her heart started drumming against her chest and she stood off the chair. She was drying her hair with a towel and a bathrobe wrapped around her body. Ryan, good evening, she greeted with a little smile and only received a tiny note with a boring good evening in response. She scrunched her nose and knew exactly what he was going to do next. Remove his coat and fold it nicely over his arm, like a robot walk to closet and disappear in the washroom. One, they married me to a robot, she whisper yelled, and went taking a seat again. Was it that hard to act like a normal human, or have some romance in life? Wine also changed into a night outfit and waited till he took his shower and come out. He came out and right when she was ready to leave for dinner, as always on dot. Her body froze on its spot. There was something about the man who went in the washroom and came out as a completely different species. They might be married for 3 weeks, but it was first time she ever saw him half naked, shirt off and a towel wrapped around his waist. The muscles were ripping out of his skin, and his biceps almost made her drool. All those thoughts of him being boring and whining about the marriage suddenly flew out of the window, and a new desire to touch the abs flew in. Jungkook, is there a problem? She snapped out and got embarrassed, realizing she was staring shamelessly. Clearing her throat, she instantly got off the bed. Ryan, how about you dress up? Then we can have dinner. Jungkook, can you please ask someone to bring it here? Ryan, no, do it yourself. She crossed her arms with a narrowed look. Jungkook, is there something wrong? Ryan, do you do drugs? Jungkook almost choked out at the question and looked at her with a pointed look, the shirt still in his hands, which he was about to wear. Ryan, ah, you do. I knew it. Jungkook, I don't want. Seriously, drugs? Out of all the things? Ryan, then why are you acting so weird? Jungkook, what is so weird about my acting? Ryan gave a forced, persuaded little smile and made sure he knew it was forced and walked out of the room. Ryan, no, nothing is wrong with you. God, why is he so clueless? Why is he such an anti romantic? As the two did their dinner, Wine didn't look at Jungkook even once. He even asked in between if she was alright or needed something, but she was straight ahead, ignoring him. She was not going to talk to him unless he makes an effort now, or he could do all the work he want and she will stick to her Netflix and friends. She snorted and plopped down on bed, curling in sheets. Usually, she asked him if he needed something before sleeping. It was weird, and Jungkook couldn't understand what was wrong. Jungkook, are you having mood swings? He asked and received no answer yet again. Jungkook, do you want ice cream? Jungkook, Wine, will you look at me? I know you are not sleeping. Wine, oh, well, I'm trying to. Turn off the lights, please. Jungkook exhaled but never turned off the lights. Wine simply grabbed her cell phone and started using it. He truly started to think if he did something wrong, but he couldn't pinpoint anything. He simply stared at her, laughing and smiling at whatever she was watching on the cell phone. Jungkook, I thought you wanted to sleep. When she ignored him again, he grabbed her cell phone and snatched it out of her hold. Vian, hey, give it back to me. Her eyes widened up when he suddenly hovered above her and kissed her. Taking her hand, he pinned it above her head and tilted his head. He kept going till she didn't give up and returned the favor. Her other hand slid against the back of his head, locking against his hair. Her heart went wild inside her chest, and she cursed at herself for even thinking once that he was boring. The way he held her, so roughly yet so softly, the way he kissed, and the way he moved, it only drove her mad. When he pulled back, she panted heavily and looked at him. Jungkook, am I getting my answers now? She shook her head. If being disobedient helps her get her way, then she'll be more. Jungkook tossed the phone away and grabbed her other hand as well and started kissing her again. His kisses slowly went down her neck and jaw until he bit and left her kiss. Wine, you don't give me attention, she said while breathing heavily, and Jungkook looked up at her with squinted eyes. Jungkook, and so you decided to ignore me? Wine, yes, and you don't give me time. No love, no affection, no nothing. He lay down beside her, resting her face on the palm of his hand, and listened to her while she ranted out. Wine, my friends think I'm extremely lucky because I have a handsome and hot husband. But how do I tell them he loves his work and not his wife? She stopped when he suddenly laughed and couldn't help but hit his chest, even though it was his first time she saw him laughing and couldn't believe how beautiful it sounded. Wine, I'm actually angry, and look at you laughing. Jungkook, I'm sorry, but that makes you adorable. She scoffed and turned her back towards him. She felt his fingers brushing through her hair, and slowly he slipped forward and wrapped his arm around her waist. Did she ask for forgiveness? No. She wanted to run away, or she believed her heart might fail right there. But on the other hand, she wanted to melt in that warm embrace. Jungkook softly kissed her head and held her hand, caressing it. Vian, you will go back to being drowned in work tomorrow. Jungkook, I'll try to give you time. I know, it's a stupid excuse, but I'm trying. I've lived my whole life alone. It's really new trying to adjust with someone. But I never meant to make you feel like I was ignoring you. Vian, what about your parents? Jungkook, I decided to live separately when I was 16. It's more than a decade now. Vian, that is such a long time. Didn't you ever feel lonely? Why would you decide that at such a young age? Jungkook, I had responsibilities and I couldn't afford any distraction. She sighed and turned towards him. He kept his arm around her. Vian, you can afford distractions now. I can be very unbearable if I'm not given attention by my husband. Jungkook, that. I saw a glimpse, I guess. Pretty sure I'm not a fool enough to desire seeing the main part. He slightly raised his hand as a surrendering gesture, and she laughed. Jungkook continued to caress her cheek along with her hair, and she was finally happy to receive his affection.